Sellers, stop thinking buyers are stupid. I'm going to tell you what I mean and then get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending June 14th, 2023. So this past weekend, Saturday morning, I'm taking a buyer client to see a condo. Nice condo, beautiful view of the lake, downtown, the CN Tower is clear there on through the windows. Beautiful sized condo. My client really likes it. And we talk about what's an offer going to look like. And we agreed that I would do a bit of research and I would get back to him as to what I feel really this condo should sell for, obviously currently in this market, and then we would discuss what an offer would really look like. So that's what I did. I did my research. I called the listing agent 2 or 3 times at this point to get some other information about the unit and so forth. I do my research on what's sold on the market, and this condo is listed at $700,000, and I figured it's actually priced really about where it should sell for. And I relay this information to my client, and through my conversations with the listing agent, it seems that the seller and the listing agent are on the they're on the same page. They didn't price it at 7 thinking they're going to get 8. They priced it also, from what the listing agent has told me, kind of where they thought it might sell for also. So it's priced traditionally, and I explain all this to my client, the buyer. He's feeling good about everything, and he says, okay, let's put in an offer. But Santo, I don't want to go back and forth. Like, I don't want to start really low and then we go up 5, they go down 5. I want to get to the point quickly. So I'm happy to go in on one price and kind of a take it or leave it. But I want to make it a good offer. So he decides he wants to go in at $690 on a condo that's listed for $700,000. That's a good price. $690. Listed for 7. We're not that far off from the list price. It is a vacant condo, so we put a closing date very short of 3 weeks closing date, which most sellers, if the house or the condo is vacant, they want a short closing date. So that's what we did, and there was only one condition. There was a condition that the buyer's lawyer gets to review the status certificate and report back to the buyer. And that was the only condition. So we submit the offer. We submitted it in the late afternoon, expiring at 10 o'clock the same night on Saturday night. I get a counter offer that evening. And the counter offer changed our price of $690 to $695. So we're up about $5,000 from our price. But I see that they've crossed off a clause we put in saying that seller is going to be responsible. First of all, they're going to let us know, and then they're responsible for any special assessments announced up to closing date. So they crossed that off, which kind of already has me wondering why they crossing that off. And then they inserted a clause stating that there is a special assessment of between $10,000 to $15,000 to repair the HVAC system, and that the buyer was going to be responsible for that. Wow. So they increased our price by $5,000 and then added on top of that $10,000 to $15,000, who knows how much, $10,000 to $15,000 in other expenses and repairs. That's now essentially a $20,000 increase from our price, which actually takes them over their list price, which is not at all what listing agent was telling me before of how they price traditionally. So I call the listing agent. I say, what's the story with the special assessment? We've spoken, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times now before I submitted the offer. Why in a counter offer am I finding out about the special assessment? And his response was, well, you've got the clause that the lawyer for the buyer is going to review the status certificate. We figured he was going to see it there, so we might as well tell you now up front. I said, up front? A counter offer is not considered up front. When you and I have spoken the multiple times before we submitted the offer, that would be upfront. The conversation should have gone something like, hey Santo, I'm excited that you're interested in this condo. Looking forward to getting an offer from you. Just to let you know, there is a special assessment of between 10 to 15,000. He should have explained it. And he also should have had a plan as to who's going to pay, the buyer or the seller, and let me know. But he's letting us know in a counteroffer. It's a big surprise. I explained this to my buyer client. Hey, they went up by 5,000 from the price we listed at. And he interrupted me, said, oh, Seth, I don't know if I want to pay an extra 5,000. I said, hold on, there's more. Excuse me. When I explained the rest of it, and I explained they removed our clause and put in a special assessment that you, the buyer, are going to pay for. Well, my client wanted nothing to do with that. He was, first of all, financially didn't make sense. But the bigger problem was, why are we finding out about this now? What's going on with these people? And my buyer client was just, no, 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 no. Tell them I'm prepared to stick to the 690, but they pay the special assessment. So I called the listing agent. I said, look, my client doesn't even want to do a whole counter offer. Is just totally upset about the way you guys have done this. But if you're prepared, take our original price of $690, but your side pays the special assessment. They call me back. We go back and forth and back and forth, and they keep trying to change things. No, okay, $695, and we'll do this, and we'll do it. After 3 or 4 times back and forth, my client has already started sending me emails of new listings. Wants to see this condo tomorrow, wants to see that condo tomorrow. And on one of the last conversations with my buyer, I'm like, this is what they're offering now. They're prepared to do the original offer of $690, and they'll pay the special assessment. He says, Santo, let's just forget it. Let's move on. I have no more trust in these sellers. I don't trust their agent. I don't trust the actual sellers. I don't know what else they're hiding. I don't know what other surprises we're going to have later. There are other condos to look at, he tells me. And he's right. He's totally right. So that's what I tell the other agent. I say, stop. We're pulling out. We're not interested anymore. We're moving on. It seems to me so many things were done wrong here from that side, from the selling side. The whole special assessment, that whole strategy of how to deal with it, and it is strategic on how you deal with this, because it is right away going to be perceived by every buyer as a negative. 10 to 15,000 to repair anything in the building. That's not for the whole building. 10, 15,000 per unit owner. That's a lot of money. That should have been discussed up front between the listing agent and the seller. How do they deal with this? Who's going to be responsible? Make it as easy as possible for the buyer to be okay with it. That's not what was done here. It was a surprise. I don't know who thought of that strategy. But it seems to me that the seller or the listing agent or both thought, oh, here's a good strategy. Let's find a buyer who's dumb and just put it all on him. They're going to pay the top price, and on top of that, they're going to pay for the special assessment. That kind of strategy, where part of your success is that the other person you're negotiating with is dumb, is not a good way to do things. It is not a good strategy. We walked away, other condos to look at, and now they had an opportunity to sell. I'm not sure what their situation is now, but there are lots of other condos. You've got to read the market, folks. You've got to know when you should be pushing and when you should really know what's a good offer and what's not a good offer. The condo market is slipping. It's turning down. There's far more condos to look at today than there was 3 months ago. There are more choices. You got to know what you're getting yourself into so you can know when a good offer is in front of you. If you think this video can help somebody you know, pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about here, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, look right below this video. There's a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Let's get into the numbers. Folks, the market is shifting. Things are changing. You either understand it, know what's happening, get in front of it, and change your strategies accordingly, or you're going to be forced to. Let's get into the numbers, and there's a lot to unpack this week here. So here's a quick summary. Condos, semis and towns, detached up here. Now, there's lots of talk about, I'm going to start off with a condo, and then I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to buy a detached. Well, the spread between the average condo sales and the average detached, that spread is close to $1.1 million. So there's not too many people selling their condo and buying a detached. It's that spread is just so large. What makes a little bit more sense, but it's still not easy, going from a condo to a semi or town. Now that spread is between $530,000 to $730,000 from condo going to a semis in town. So not even that is easy to do, but a little bit more possible. So just I wanted to throw that out there because lots of people say, yeah, I'm going to start off with a condo and then I'm going to buy a detached. It's not that easy. We're going to start off with detached properties. This is for the City of Toronto only, broken down by week for a whole year. 189 detached properties were sold for week ending June the 14th. 53 of those were at $2 million or more. And both those numbers, sales and sales of $2 million or more, are pretty similar to what we did the week before. Average sold price climbed up a bit to $1,827,000. 1,827 is 20% higher, which is about $309,000, 20% higher than our low point in July last year. So the market is up 20% from the lowest point last year. That's a big number, 20%, $309,000. Compared to last year, for the same week, our average sold price is 9% higher than where we were a year ago. And that's, that's just 1 week, looking at it from 1 week, but we're looking at the trend. And if I go back 4 or 5 weeks, some weeks were up, some weeks were lower than last year. It kind of seems we're pretty similar to where we were when we kind of spread it over 4 or 5 weeks. We're pretty similar in average sold price to where we were last year. So let's keep that in mind. We're similar in average sold price. Median price for the same week is 8% higher. And both median and average price have been trending up. And I'm looking at the dotted line now, which is a 4-week moving average. They've been trending up, but these last 3 weeks, and I put a question mark there, we're not sure which way it's going. Looks like we may be trending down, but this 1 week prices went up. Let's see kind of where that trend goes. But generally speaking, trending up. We're kind of in the middle of something now. We're not sure which way it's going to go. But we look at sales. The orange, that's this year's sale. The blue, that's a year ago. We have been consistently, for weeks now, outselling what we were doing last year the same weeks. Not by a lot, but we're selling a bit more properties this year than last year. And we know interest rates are higher this year, but we're selling more. We know prices generally about the same, but it does cost more. It's harder to qualify. It is costing more because higher interest rates to maintain and pay for the properties, but we're selling more. The amount of properties selling at list price or more is 66%. A little bit lower, but pretty similar to where we've been over the last 2 months. Let's look at listings. 419 were listed. That's just for week ending June the 14th. But when we really look at it, active listings is on the way up. They are increasing. So active listings means the amount of properties available for sale right at midnight, June 14th. How many are still not sold? So we're starting the new week with 1,238 detached properties. Now, if we compare that number to where we were last year at the same time, last year we had 200 more, approximately 200 more properties available for sale. So there are fewer choices this year. Now, interest rates are higher. We know that that negatively impacts price, but because there's fewer choices, that's taking prices the other way, supply and demand. So there's a constant battle between supply and demand and where prices are going to be, and it's actually quite amazing that prices are higher today or the same as what they were last year, because we know interest rates are higher. It's harder to qualify. It's even amazing we're doing more sales this year than last year, knowing that it is harder to qualify and interest rates are higher. Months of inventory. If we look back a little bit, we were heading up, we dropped, now we're heading up again. We're sitting at 1.5 months of inventory, and excuse me, 13 is the average days on market. That was Toronto as a whole. Let's break it down. As a summary, Toronto as a whole is right here, but if we break Toronto down in some of the different neighborhoods, we know that sold at list price or more for the whole city on average is 66%. If you're buying in Rexdale, Downsview, less than half, 44% are being sold at list price or more. So there's more options to not be negotiating and to actually buy a property below list price. If we look at York Mills, Rosedale, a third are selling at list price or more, but the average price over there is almost $3.3 million. But there are other areas above where it's more competitive than the whole average. Etobicoke, 77% selling at list price or more. East York, 73%. Weston Yorkdale, 75%. Scarborough, 86% selling at list price or more. Extremely competitive. Months of inventory, we're at, as a whole, at 1.5. Scarborough, it's at 1. High Park, it's at 1.3. 1.3 in Etobicoke. Some of these areas, you're going to have vastly different markets. And it's important for you to know that. It's important for you to understand that. What I'm talking about here, take it as a general guide. But man, you really need to know what's going on in your area before you make a decision as to which way you're going. Here's semis. 66 semis were sold. 26 of those were at 1.5 million or more. Average sold price jumped way up. It's really high right now at 1,482,000. 1,482 is 2% higher than where we were last year. Median price is 16% higher than where we were last year, and both median and average are trending upwards. Months of inventory sitting at 0.8. 80% of semi-detached properties sold at list price or more. Here's townhouses. Only 19 were sold. That's it. These are freehold townhouses. 19 were sold. 4 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,277,000. 1,277, 9% higher than where we were a year ago. Median price is 1% lower than where we were a year ago. And months of inventory for townhouses is sitting at 1.1 months of inventory. Condos. Sales way down. 251 condos were sold. The amount of condos selling at $1 million or more is way down. Only 23 condos sold at $1 million or more. Average sold price, way down, sitting at $745,000. 745 is 9.5% higher than our lowest point which was August last year, 9.5% is really only about $7,000. So we're getting pretty much now these last couple of weeks prices have come way down. 745 is 1% lower than where we were a year ago. Median price is 0% change where we were a year ago. Median price has been pretty steadily trending upwards. Average price was trending upwards, but has been pretty steady over the last 3 or 4 weeks now. Sales were way up from what we were selling last year. Half of the condos sold at list price or more, 51% listings. So if we look at active listings, has been trending upwards by quite a bit actually. We were at 2,000 not too long ago. We're now at 2,000, over 2,600 active listings on the market. Where compared to last year we had 328 more. So we have 328 fewer listings available for sale this year, condo listings. And months of inventory, pretty steady, increasing almost on a weekly basis. We're sitting now at 2.4 months of inventory. We're getting pretty close to a balanced market. We're not there yet, but we're pretty close. In some neighborhoods, we can see it, we can feel it, that there's lots of room to negotiate or lots of choices, which kind of keeps prices pretty stable. That's one of the definitions of a balanced market. Here's a summary of months of inventory. Townhouses stayed the same, but detached semis and condos all increased, all headed towards a balanced market. I don't know if we're going to get there, but the market is shifting. We see it in the streets working with buyers and sellers. We see it in the numbers. Things are changing. You really need to have your pulse on what's happening in the market so you can make smart decisions. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.